One problem, like one of the main reasons I like sort of like distance myself from the feminist movement, like sort of relates to this, and it's sort of like the myth that like it's good for a woman to be engaged in hookup culture. That it's like good for a woman to be engaged in hookup culture, because I like don't think that's true. I think it's like pretty damaging for women, but it's like somehow advertised as like this is good for you, and I cannot see like how there would be like any like that it's like necessarily good for women. And then also just like the point like about like honestly like my assessment of those girls saying like they want their time to like explore themselves in their 20s, it would be like to sleep around, but like the irony that I just feel like isn't really like told to women is like how you really find yourself is by like spending time like alone, like not like the period where I like found myself was like in high school when I was like never like talking to guys ever, like that was like so those are just like two myths of like modern feminism that like relate to this that I feel like are like bad for women.
What was the first one that you said? It was
that like hookup culture is good for women.
So why do you think it's bad?
How can sleeping with a guy who has like no like incentive to like pleasure you serve you? I just like don't understand that, like, if that makes sense. And I think it's advertised as like it's empowering to sleep around, and I don't think it is. I think it's just like, to me in my head, that kind of like serves men like a lot more than it like might serve women. I mean, there's the positive side of it, which is like don't slut shame girls who are sexual and want to like express themselves sexually. But the bad side is like I feel like in saying that like you're like but I equally have like girlfriends in college who are like shamed for being a virgin, which if that makes sense, like shamed for like not sleeping with guys. I have friends like that. I have a best friend who's like that. You have women
that are shamed for being virgins?
Yes,
probably very rare. But I feel like
I've heard
shamed
men,
by other girls. Shamed by other girls who are
by women
feminine.
who are
sluts. Shamed by other girls who think it's like they're confused and they like are doing something bad for themselves by not sleeping with men.
I could see that. Because their virginity is probably some sort of a like a looking mirror, and they're like, oh fuck, I'm a hoe. What?
I don't think that's what she meant.
No.
Well, the women that are judging.
Just that I think we're conditioned to think that like sleeping around is not only like normal as a woman, but good for you. Like you're getting something out of it. You're empowering yourself. You're like that. I think is like spread around. I think that's where it comes from.
Well, I mean, my take on this would be the only women that would shame women who are virgins must be promiscuous women. A woman who has some degree of sexual purity or is a virgin herself is not going to shame another woman who's a virgin.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Definitely.
Someone who's like has a low body count woman's not going to shame a woman who is a virgin.
Yeah, definitely not.
That's my sense of it anyways, so.
Yeah.
Getting some stares from the girls at the table on this one.
I'm lost completely. I'm completely lost.
What do you mean, why you lost?
No, with just that.
Do you disagree with her?
What? About what she said?
Yeah.
I don't agree or disagree. It's whatever she, I mean, I sleep at night fine if I agree or disagree or not, you know? Like, it doesn't, I mean, for me, I do it for my own pleasure, you know? So.
Yeah. And when you mentioned like the whole one night stand thing, or you mentioned pleasure, are you saying, and I think you would be right in saying this, most women are probably more likely to be able to climax with a partner if it's a continuous partner versus just hook up, like, and you said guys aren't particularly focused on women's
or even
pleasure
just like
in a
never.
one night stand.
Like I've had like friends who have been with like a lot of guys, like many guys, and never came like before ever until like, so in my head I'm like, how can you like, what are you getting? You just have to like sit back and be like, what are you getting out of this? Like, why are you doing this? And I think like girls do it because they think it's something empowering. And like in some ways it is, you know, in those like masculine ways of like, oh, the chase, like compiling a list. Like, I can understand why like some types of girls would like get basically just like an ego boost, validation from it. But I think that's just more like turning inward and being like, is validation, is like an ego boost worth like my, like, you know, I don't know, like my body.
Yeah.
Anyone want to come in on that?
I think that like the problem with that statement is that maybe girls are empowering each other to like indulge in hookup culture, but as a society, it's a lot more rare for women to be like embracing hookup culture than it is for men. Men, it's almost always going to be congratulated if they're indulging in hookup culture or getting with a lot of women, but it's a lot more rare for women. And like even from other women, there is slut shaming and like being looked down upon. And I don't think it's necessarily that hookup culture is a good thing, but I think it's just that women should be allowed to partake in that if men are also. Like, it shouldn't be that we're looked down upon for wanting to have that just because we're a woman and we're supposed to be seen as innocent and like low body count. And like, again, I think it's such a highly personal thing that like if you yourself don't want to be partaking in hookup culture, that is fine, don't. But if you do, not everyone that is like sleeping with just the sleazy men, and not everyone, like just your friends, are like hooking up with all these guys and never coming. Some people have a really great time in hookup culture, but I just think that it's so much more common for women to be looked down upon.
Okay, who's having a great time in hookup culture? I'd say it's not the women.
Really?
I'd say the top tier men.
Yeah, definitely men over women, but that's because men are more commonly taking part in hookup culture than women.
Women who are just sleeping with a bunch of guys are probably like the least happy people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, have some girls try out, like, and just see for themselves, like, how do they feel about themselves and like their life and like what they're like doing with their time by like spending like 3 months taking like dating detox, you know, like no guys, whatever, and then going back into it and like only spending time with guys in like a serious way. Like, just try out like 3 months of like telling guys no when it comes to sex, see how you feel. And like, I just wonder if girls did that, how it would make them feel, like, and which made them feel better about themselves and like their worth and stuff.
I think the need for, or like the thought that women need to hook up, or like you were saying, a lot of women are going into this hookup culture a lot, right? I think it's more of an ego boost for them. Because, I mean, that's how it is for guys, too. It's like, you know, I got with this girl, yeah, bro. Which, that's a whole thing, because it's way easier for a woman to get sex than a man. That's just how it is societally. Like, so I think it's more of like an ego thing. Like, hey, all these guys want me. All these guys want me. And I think women should start saying like, no, bro. Like, you're not that guy.
Well, maybe I'm just horny because that's not me. You know, like,
but also,
or maybe I'm just horny.
If you're actually getting like pleasure out of it and like you are finishing and it's a good environment, like you were saying, then I think it's fine if you're sticking to one guy.
Yeah.
But if it's like, if you're sleeping with a bunch of different guys.
Oh yeah, that's different.
And you're not finishing or you're not getting any real pleasure, like full satisfied pleasure out of it.
Right.
It's like, well, what's the point with that then?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's not me.
But that's like where we're saying, like, if you're a girl in hookup culture, you're automatically having a bad time, which I think is a very negative stereotype that has been portrayed. And I think, like, I prefer, right now at least, while I'm in my early 20s, taking part in hookup culture and doing whatever I want to do rather than just being tied down right now. And, like, I understand that that's not what everyone wants, but, like, I think that it's just more normalized for men to be in hookup culture than it is for women. And I'm not saying that it's a good thing for women to be in hookup culture, not saying that it's a good thing for men either, but I just think that it's way more looked down upon for women than it is for men.